What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be doing the predictions for Overwatch League from Saturday, May 16th all the way to Sunday, May 17th. So I'm just going to hop right into it. I'm doing this one live, so there's not going to be anything big or anything like that. But first is Seoul Dynasty versus Chengdu, which at the time I'm recording this is about to be on in like one day, I think. And I think honestly, Chengdu shouldn't be slept on as much as everyone thinks, but I do think Seoul Dynasty is going to straight up come out on top. I think that recently what we've seen with them in the Shanghai Dragons, I don't think there's a chance for Chengdu. There's always a chance for Chengdu. They can pull out some wins out of their asses sometimes, and it's really insane. I think if Jinmu pops off, they have a big chance if they can get something with their Wrecking Ball strats going. But Seoul Dynasty just looking really strong recently, especially against the Shanghai Dragons. Even though they took a few losses, more recent than before the Shanghai Dragons, or less recent, I guess I should say, I still think that Seoul have a really solid handle on the Chengdu Hunters. Okay, next we have the London Spitfire versus the Shanghai Dragons. And I'm kind of high on London right now. But as high as you can be on London, it's Shanghai, right? Like, they almost lost to New York, which is something. They did lose to Seoul, and they have lost to Chengdu before, but they came back swinging and beat Chengdu last time. And I think that along with the fact that the only other team that can or has proven that they can semi-consistently beat them is Seoul. Obviously, they didn't beat them the first time, but they took it very close, and they beat them the second time. So, with that being said, I think London's actually a really good team, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on them too much. But maybe one map, but other than that, I don't know if London have the team, the roster necessary to beat someone as good as Shanghai. Okay, next for this week, we have New York and Hangzhou. Now this, out of the Asian region, it's probably going to be the closest game. I think Hangzhou, honestly, if they can definitely start picking up their game, right? Like, we saw them last season. They were hanging in 4th, 5th places. Like, they were doing really good. I think they finished 4th overall, or maybe 3rd. But recently, they've been performing kind of eh. And ever since New York has moved to the Asian division, they've been stomping people, right? I mean, obviously, Guangzhou they lost to last week. But before that, they beat Guangzhou handily 3-0. It wasn't really that close. And then they went against Shanghai, and they were rolling up until the end when they got reverse swept. But even taking Shanghai rather to a map 5 is in and of itself a great feat in the Asian region. And Hangzhou just can't really do that. I don't know if they can put it out, but they're pretty inconsistent. I think honestly Hangzhou can just squeeze out a few map wins here and there. But overall, I'd have to definitely give it to New York. Okay, moving over to the Vancouver Titans, the new one, versus the Houston Outlaws. I'm gonna be real. The Titans did not look too hot against Washington, but they had 0 prep time. Like, they got picked up and immediately were thrown out into a league game. And they didn't do awful against Florida, and they didn't do bad at all against Washington. So I think with time to prep, they definitely have a bigger chance than a lot of people think about defeating Houston. But Houston aren't a slouch anymore, right? They're not just going to get rolled over like they were. Dante Blase, especially with the hero bans, Doomfist is more playable than he has been recently. And Dante's obviously just flexible and a really good DPS. I don't know if Suna, along with Shredlock and the rest of them, can even, like, stack up to Dante and Blase and, like, obviously Muma. I think Arissa's banned, right? In a meta where Shredlock can't really run double shield. I mean, I guess, no, not even. I was going to say Winston maybe, but I think even as Winston isn't even comparable to Muma's, and I think the DPS lineup is just going to roll over the Vancouver Titans. But they do have a chance. They did look good, and I think KSA obviously has some really promising stuff. Suna, when he's not on Sombra, looks really good, really strong. I think that he might be able to take something down. We'll have to see, though. I don't really know how good the Vancouver Titans are because they had no time to prep. So I think with time to prep, we can see more because it might not seem like that big of a deal, but I really think it is. Getting the time in to scrim, to figure out what you want to run, what is meta, instead of just copying what other teams are running, is a big thing because they did not look comfortable running Sombra. And Dante definitely likes running the Sombra. So we'll have to see how it goes, but I think I have to give the edge to the Houston Outlaws. Okay, next is Florida versus Washington. And I don't think Florida's like as hype as their record would say right now because they were obviously farming lower tier teams. Boston, who'd they go against? Vancouver, like I don't think they're bad at all. I think Yaki has been really impressive. I think their support line and tank line, I think Gargoyle's been proving himself lately. I had really big doubts about BQB before coming into this next season, but he proved himself pretty well. But Washington is just honestly, Vancouver just dropped their entire roster, and I think they're in a better spot than Washington is, besides like maybe Boston. But like, they weren't that good with their all-star player, and their all-star player is gone. And their debatably second best DPS player in Stratus also is gone, and I don't even know if they've picked up new DPS yet. So, you know, Washington kind of getting on that struggle bus, but we'll have to see. I mean, I just think Florida's, like, everything Florida has just dominates Washington, though. I think maybe if they had Corey and Stratus in there, they can definitely beat Yaki and BQB, unless they throw in Saya or something. But even then, like, I think Washington definitely had the advantage, but now their team just didn't look good with their all-star player, and now that their all-star player is gone, they're going to struggle way harder. So I think, like, it might be a decent match to watch just to look into what they're doing, but Florida's really getting an easy, like, matchups, and they're just going to crush. They're going to get #1 seed in the May tournament. I think they're going to crush people. I don't think that they're as good as everyone says, but I definitely don't think they're a slouch. But I guess we'll have to see what Washington fields. Okay. Next two teams, Los Angeles, Boston. Love Jerry. Jerry, my man. You're so good, and your team's just so awful. And I love you, but if Boston's winning a series, it's not going to be against the Gladiators. Don't know what to tell you, Boston fans. Okay, next is San Fran versus Atlanta, and I think genuinely San Francisco's overhyped. Now, yes, they were the champions of last season, and they are still a very strong team, but I don't think they are, like, you cannot put them in the same boat as Philadelphia and Shanghai and teams of that caliber with how they've been performing. They really, really struggle when Lucio's not a thing. Now, Lucio is a thing this weekend, thank God for them. But I still think they're a really top tier team. They got a really, really solid roster mechanically. They just don't play with it to their full potential. That being said, Atlanta are the kings of not playing to their full potential because they're not running Erster, who is like, besides Hoxall, if Hoxall didn't exist, I think Erster won Rookie of the Year last year. He was insane, and Atlanta just don't like running him. On top of that, they were running FRD. Now, I assume they were running FRD for the Zarya, as Hawk, I don't believe, plays Zarya, but when the Zarya wasn't working out, they just didn't care. Now, Edison's cool and all, but Tracer is banned, and that is his, I don't want to say he's a one trick, but that's definitely his specialist. And when you have Erster, who's debatably as good as Edison on Tracer, if not better, who's also the most flexible person on your lineup, and no offense to any of the Atlanta Reign players, I love Baby Bay and everyone, but Erster's the best player on that team, most likely. Start running Erster, Atlanta, come on. And I think if they do, I think if they run Erster and Hawk, and they play to their full potential, Atlanta can for sure beat the San Francisco Shock, but they really need to pick it up. Okay, next is Guangzhou and Chengdu. Now, there's not too much to talk about with this one. It's going to be one of those, if Chengdu's forced to play standard, Guangzhou's going to stomp them, because I think Guangzhou's making a really good case to be one of the top teams in the open region. But Chengdu have pulled out wins here and there from randomly before, so we'll see where it goes with this one, but generally, you just have to give it to Guangzhou. Chengdu can take maps maybe, but the series is questionable. Like I said, it's Chengdu. They could pull it out. They drag teams down. They do whatever. If Nero isn't there, however, I think Guangzhou are going to struggle against some of the weirder comps Chengdu are going to pull out. But I don't know if he's playing, because I know he had to go renew his visa. I don't know if he's playing or not, so we'll have to see with that one. Hangzhou versus London. Now this one I think is actually like very important because they're fighting for the same spot. Not a good spot, it's the second worst team in the Asian region, but it's a spot nonetheless. Or I guess they're fighting to who is gonna be on top of that. But it is still a spot, which is saying a lot because these two teams are really good. Hangzhou I think is really strong. We've seen them obviously last year finishing top 4. They're always a little bit behind the top tier teams, but never too far to where they were looking bad. But Hangzhou really needs to step it up. They can't keep relying on Godspeed to kind of soft carry them. That being said, London's got Glister, who also has the exact same potential as Godspeed, so we'll have to see what comes out of that. I think a lot of it comes down to Glister versus Godspeed. I think Hangzhou really need to step it up. I'm high on London right now, and I want London to win. Nothing against Hangzhou, I just like London a lot as a team, but we need to see Hangzhou perform at a level that I feel like they really can definitely perform to. I mean, they have in the past. They look pretty consistent across a lot of metas, so we just need to see Hangzhou step it up. But until I see him step it up, London's feats just look slightly better. I guess not really, but I don't know. London has less time to prove themselves in a bad way, and when they do play, besides Guangzhou, who have also bodied Hangzhou, London looks really solid. So we'll just have to see, though. I think this is a really important matchup to watch. One of the better ones that'll be going on this weekend. Oh boy, Paris and Dallas. Where do I start? Dallas is no longer a meme. So I guess it's a good starting place. Here's the dealio. Decay can't just hard carry on Tracer. Although, Soon can't just hard carry on Tracer either, because Tracer is banned. Now this ban I think affects Dallas in a worse way because Decay can just straight up hard carry on Tracer, where it's a little bit harder for Soon. But Mei is also gone, and Doha does not need to rely on Mei at all. I think we might be seeing a little bit of Doomfist, and if Doomfist is a thing, and you bring Doha's Doomfist out, they don't have anything that can match Doha on the Doomfist, and Paris does not at all. I think Paris's tank line is probably even with Dallas, even though I think Dallas have probably the worst support lineup in the league, and that's saying something because Boston exists. But I think that Decay, it really relies on Decay and Doha, right? And I think they definitely can pull it off, and it'll be very close both ways. But the consistency from Paris is just insane. I think if Decay can match Soon on any of the heroes he chooses to play, whether it's a mirror or if it's just a compositional advantage that they bring, I think Dallas can definitely pull out the win, but it relies a lot on how well Decay and Soon do against each other. But we'll have to see. I think this is also maybe one of the top games to watch this weekend, and I definitely think that it's going to be a close one. Vancouver, Philly, I'm going to be quick with this one. Vancouver's an unproven roster. They haven't had a lot of time in the Overwatch League or time to prepare. This is the first weekend they get some time, and they have to go against the big boys of the league. Philly, one of the top teams, debatably the best lineup in every one of their compositions, and are very dominant, and Carpe is really cool. I don't think anyone on Vancouver can even stack up to anything on Philly. Although they are unproven, Vancouver, if you prove me wrong and you roll them, that would be great, but I think even old Vancouver loses to Philly, and I don't think new Vancouver even stands a chance. But we'll see. I mean, I have faith in you guys. I really don't. But I would love to see a closer series. And that leads me to Toronto and Valiant. Now, this game, I think it's going to be pretty close. I think, actually, it's going to be a good one. I think Beast is really terrible, but I think that the rest of the Toronto Defiant have proven themselves pretty well. Valiant's DPS recently have been popping off really hard, but Toronto, I mean, Logic, Surefour, Agilities, like, they got some really, really good DPS players, as well as I think this is a, like, hero band. These hero bands benefit Toronto in a really good way, because Beast doesn't have to play Orisa, and they don't have to worry about a Tracer or I don't think there's going to be very many flankers from Valiant, but Valiant are very adaptable and pull out some wacky comps. They're kind of comparable to Chengdu in the North American region, less so, but still kind of comparable. And I think that their lineups are matched up pretty evenly across the board, especially with Toronto picking up Cruz. That's big. But we'll have to see. I think this is going to be a really close match, though. I think I'm going to give the edge to Valiant. I don't know if that's actually what I put in my predictions, but what I'm going to physically say is that I think the Los Angeles Valiant are going to edge out on top just because they've looked more consistently good across the board. But I think it'll be really close with Toronto and Valiant, and I'm really interested to watch the match for sure. Alright guys, well those are my weekly predictions, or weekend predictions for May 16th and 17th of the Overwatch League Season 3. If you guys do enjoy anything about the Overwatch League and me talking about it, make sure you like and subscribe. And definitely leave a comment down below, you know, if you disagree with my predictions or you think you have a good argument to make about them, please definitely say it in the comments. I love reading anything about the Overwatch League. But thank you for watching the video, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day.